All right, guys, so we got the recording going. So on today's call, we are going to be learning about Google stacking, also known as article stacking. So like I mentioned before, when we started the call, a lot of you guys already have a lot of these assets in place. What we want to do is kind of go through them. If you don't, take notes. That way you know which ones you're going to need. Now, what is this? How is this different than anything that we've been learning? And what is it going to do? What's going on? As you guys know, I continuously kind of do research. I'm in communication with my SEO type colleagues and things like that. So there's a ton of testing, especially with Google's algorithm now changing again. So there's a lot of stuff that continues to change, and we keep seeing rankings, not necessarily our clients, because what we do is called, a lot of the stuff is very strict white hat SEO, which is basically following all the rules, right? We kind of stay there. There is a such thing as gray hat and black hat SEO, where you start kind of leaning towards, trying to game the system or trick the system a little bit to get some rankings. We're seeing a lot of drops. So I'm watching a lot of tests, once again, in other groups I'm a part of, and that's good for our clients. So what I've seen is many of you guys and some of you guys, or some of our clients that are not on this call, just making dramatic jumps. And JP, this is probably a result of what's happening as well. You keep saying like these leads, I keep getting kind of ping from some of our clients, the same type of results, right? I got a lead, or my results are going up, right? What we're seeing is that a lot of these people that were ranking on the top were doing, their agencies were doing a lot of black hat techniques, right? So now that the algorithms are changing a little bit, we're seeing those drops. So us that we've been doing it right are starting to move the needle up. Okay, so that's been very, very exciting. And then what we've been kind of testing and looking at as well is this Google stacking. Google stacking, article stacking is not new. This is something that's been around, but it's, sometimes we've seen it if it works, if it doesn't work. And I've kind of used a piece of it, but now I'm 100% bought in. I saw some tests. I'm excited about it. I want to go all in on some of this stuff for our clients, and you guys on this call are the first ones to kind of look at the technique and what it is. Very simple, actually. But once we go through it, what I'm going to do for our Baltimore event, I'm going to be teaching a piece of that, but a piece of this as well, but in more detail. I'll have more examples. And today we want to just kind of see you guys. It's not a big group, and everybody, let me see, everybody here, I believe, is real estate investing or some kind of real estate. Yeah, so everybody here. So we'll kind of stick very strategic or very strictly around real estate, so we can kind of see what's going on. So, all right, let's kick it off. So this is based off of essentially roughly about 4 to 5 steps. Okay, so what you want to do and what this is going to do, it all revolves around a blog. So that's where it's going to start. So I know I've had a lot of conversations with like Segal, JP, even Mickey on what's the avatar. So we're going to go back to the avatar and looking at that. You guys are going to have to go, nothing new, right? You guys got to go where your avatar is. What is that going to be? Because what we want to do, we want to stack stuff. And for example, some of you guys might say, let's just use an example. I want to go after fire damage homes. We'll use JP as an example because I worked through that just recently. Fire damage homes. We want to really go after certain keywords around fire damage homes. So what you want to do is first make sure that you have at least one blog post around that topic. What you want to do as well, do your keyword research. Take that fire damage homes in the location, right? Append the location to that, drop it into Google, and make sure that the results that come out are what you would think a user would put in or is looking for. So you're looking for, essentially, it's called the intent. So if you put in your keyword and you're getting some random results that you're like, not exactly what I thought would be there, then you got to adjust your keyword. Since you guys don't have kind of like these advanced keyword research tools to kind of, go through and basically steal the keywords from your competition, you're going to have to go through and put in the keyword yourself into Google till you find a result, basically that is resulting into stuff that's talking about what you want, right? So once you have that keyword, so you're going to have one. I want to also try to get 1 to 2 keywords because you'll be able to kind of mix it up. So a primary and secondary keyword for a blog. Then, for example, going back to JP's example, he already has a blog around fire damage home. So that's already ranking very well. Are we ranking position 1? I can't remember, JP, but I think we were moving the needle a little bit. That's the whole thing. We want to rank number 1. We want to keep moving that needle up, and we want to do it fast. So the next step for something like this is going to be basically a YouTube video. Once again, this is something some of you guys already done. Maybe you even done what I had recommended. You take that, you create the YouTube video. This is an SEO video, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to have a good script. It can just be pictures, but we need, basically some pictures, but the text needs to have those keywords in it. And then you're going to optimize it like we've talked about before. The keyword needs to be in the title. Keyword needs to be in the description, and a nice kind of description has to be, take advantage of the wording there. So, 200, 100 words, 200 words, just be descriptive so you can kind of put your keyword there in a couple times. Then this is where it starts kind of getting a little bit, we've already kind of done this where you're going to link. This is the first link of the stacking. So you're going to link the description of the YouTube video over to the blog. So if you have it to that point, you're doing good. So if you guys already kind of gone that far, you have something set up very similar to this, then good, you're there. Then this is the next part that's been a lot of questions. And what do we post? What do we do? So now we're going to go to the GMB. So I'm going to stop there because this can get kind of confusing at this point. I want to make sure everybody's following me with what I'm talking about with the blog, with the keyword, and the YouTube video. So if you have any questions, just unmute yourself and let me know if that did not make sense to you. Go ahead, JP.
Just a question on the last part where you said link it to the blog. You mean, so like when we build out the blog and we put the video inside the blog, with the URL, like the way that you can do on WordPress, so that way it shows up without actually without actually putting the video in the blog. Is that what you mean by that?
Exactly. So you're doing, basically you're going to embed the video in your blog. That's a must. But what the backlink is going to be in the description. So remember if you go to YouTube and you have that description area and you can actually put a hyperlink back to something, that's what I'm talking about. That needs to be.
Oh, gotcha. So your blog URL needs to be inside the blog, inside the YouTube description.
Correct.
Gotcha.
So usually we do this method with the city pages, right? And I tell you, put your link back to your city page. In this case, we're going after that particular avatar. And a lot of you guys are already doing great, ranking well for your city pages, but now we want to get a little more specific. We want to go after a certain topic. And I know JP has been going after the fire damage home. So that's a great example. It's like, you're done with your city pages. You're doing great. Keep doing what you're doing. But now we need to rank those other blog posts, right? So now you have in the description, you have a link back to the blog. So that's still, anybody else have any questions so far?
So for the blog, I'm sorry, for the blog and the YouTube link, if I remember correctly, you were saying also to put the city page into that description, right? The city link into that description?
In this case, we're not. In this
So
case, we're
just
going
the
to
blog.
focus. Yeah, in this case, we're going to focus. This whole strategy is how to rank your avatar blogs, basically. So Mickey, I know one of the questions that you've been struggling with, or one of the challenges, right, with the online presence is, your city pages, once again, they're fine, but you keep getting leads, but not exactly the avatar. And you're kind of struggling like, this method is where you want to go. Keep doing, you can still do something similar for the city pages, but you're probably more specific. Give me your avatar. Which one's the most important avatar?
The tired landlord right now.
Tired landlord. So you need to go back to the website, find the tired landlord blog post, right? Find that tired landlord blog post, look at it, read through it, make sure you have the keyword in there, and you have, because I believe we wrote it.
Yes.
Your next step would be the video. And if you have the video, then you're good. But if you don't, that would be your next step. Create a video for the tired landlords. Once you have that video, you're going to take that video and embed it on the blog post. But on YouTube, you're going to have the keyword in the title, and in the description on YouTube, I want you to have a link to the blog post.
Okay. So
That makes sense
I
so far?
was making like those two links, like to the blog post plus the city, so no cities.
In this case, you don't need the city. We're really kind of concentrate, and you'll see why, because we're going to go back and actually rinse and repeat. And it's going to depend on how competitive it is. And you keep doing that till, you know, boom, you get to number one. And that's why it's important to kind of look at, because all this is going to sound familiar till we get to the rinse and repeat. And that's how you start, it's like how you start moving that needle up. So I think anybody else before I move to the next, go ahead. Tony.
Roger.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I understand what you're saying about the avatar and the blog, etc.
Mhm.
But the part that I'm lost on now is the city part. I know you don't use it, but then how do you apply the city? I guess might be my question. Or when do you apply the city? And I know it's not in this particular case, but I'm trying to understand why.
Sure. No, great question. So usually in the past, it's been, and we're still doing that. Keep in mind, this is just a different strategy based on Avid, very specific, because this is assuming your cities are doing well, you're good. You know, you don't need to be kind of doing anything else, or at least not a lot. Now you need to focus on the avatar, and you're like, man, I got a good online presence, but now I need to focus on a certain avatar, right? A certain topic, right? Distress. That's why. It's not that the city isn't important, because I still want to add, you know, a geolocation, but this is kind of what I'm showing you here is let's start moving the needle on our blogs as well, not just our city pages. Let's rank our blogs as well high. All right, and some blogs are going to be more important. Now, that's why you have to choose who is your most important avatar, and then go through this process and see the needle move, and then you'll start choosing, because it is a lot. Once we get through this, it's a lot for one blog post, and that's why it needs to be like the important one. That way you can go back and rinse and repeat on other ones. Does that make sense? So it is okay. Say tired landlords, going back to Mickey's, I still want her to add a city at the end of it, but I'm no longer worried for that one, for her to link to a city page. I want her that blog post to move, right? And there's going to be different places. It's not just going to be the blog post. It's going to be GMB and a lot more things here as we go through this process. So far we've hit the blog, and I think, Tony, that makes sense now, right? Yeah. So far we've hit the blog, and we created a YouTube video. The video has been embedded on the blog, and on the description on YouTube, you're linking to the blog. That is the first stack. And we call it a Google stack because those are two Google properties. Okay, that's the first level of the Google stack. Boom. So you got one. All right, we're going to keep moving here unless anybody has any more questions. I want to make sure before we jump into the next step. Everybody good? All right, so the next step, you got your first stack right there. Let's go to the next stack. The next item or stack is going to be your GMB post, your Google My Business post. Okay, there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of push on my end for you guys to set up a GMB, get it all set up, start experimenting with posting, because now you're going to use it as a strategy. So the second stack is going to be a GMB post. So how do you set that up? The way you're going to do it, you basically take a summary, and we talked about this in other calls. You take a summary of your blog post basically, and you use that as your post. Remember, GMB posts are short-lived, and these are fine. That's 100% fine. But what you want to do is have an image, obviously. And what I actually learned, it was something new to me. You can actually use the same image from your blog. It's actually okay. It's been tested. I'm always staying safe, making sure we have unique stuff. This has been tested by my colleagues, 100% fine. So you can actually use the same featured image that you use on your blog for your GMB post as well. Okay. Then you take a summary of that blog and you use it as your post. So you don't have to even do anything. You can just take the first paragraph of the blog, change a couple words, pop it in, and that's it. But this is where it becomes a little different than what I've done before. The CTA, or your call to action, right? The link does not go to the blog, It goes to the YouTube, the YouTube video. So now you're stacking. So right there, GMB, you're going to basically take a summary of your blog. You're going to use the featured image. You can create a unique one, but you don't need to. And then the most important part to stack it is link to YouTube, to your YouTube channel or your YouTube video. Okay. So that's number 2 stack. So now you got a couple properties going to them. Before, what I used to do is actually link back to the city page or the blog. In this case, we're going to YouTube. All right. Everybody with me so far? Good. All right. This last one, this last step has a couple different steps to it. So this is where, this is kind of, I believe, after kind of analyzes the entire strategy, is where most of the magic is going to happen, because it includes links. So what you're going to do with the final stack here is going to be a press release. So with the press release, this is actually very, very cool. With the press release, and this is going to be tricky because you can't do this with all press release services. So Sean and I kind of have a partnership already with the press release companies. Actually, we have 2 now. They'll do all this that's required for this. But with this, you can actually get a press release created, and it's going to include, one of the main things that needs to include is your keyword from your blog. Okay. And then that press release needs to be worded, and press release writers, we can do it as well. But if you get your own, they know how to write these in a certain manner that's more geared toward a press release, right? But they'll take your blog, create it into a press release, basically. And then inside the press release, we're going to embed the video. All right. We're going to take basically the GMB image, the featured image that's use it. We're going to use that as an image on the press release. We're going to have a link inside the press release to the GMB post. So a lot of this is time sensitive, right? Because the GMB post is short lived. So you got to do it within that week. And then the final link that we're linking to is going to be to the blog post. The press release, once again, I go back and I'm going to be doing a lot of testing with a lot, and I've seen this work magic. The reason it's so powerful is because the press release hits all your assets, and the press release is not a Google asset, but it hits all your Google assets out there. And not only that, it's going out to roughly about 200 news sites, and it's coming back as a result. Not all of them are going to get picked up, but on average, you get picked up by 100, 120. So you're actually coming back and hitting all the assets through all this interlinking, and all the power is getting hit back. And that's where the basically stacking stops. And what you do there, you can rinse and repeat. Say, let's just go back to JP's example. Maybe he sees, in the next 20 days, he sees the needle move a little bit, and kind of the magic number is 21 days. When you do a lot of work like this, you want to let it sit for 21 days and see what it does. That's usually what Google has an opportunity to re-index things and see where it's going to be. Say you see the needle move a little bit, and after 21 days, it's going to stop. And it's going to stay where it's as far as it's going to go. And then from there, you can decide, all right, I'm where I want to be. I hit number 1. I'm good. I can stop. I can concentrate on something else. Or you can actually go back and create a couple more assets that are going to point to this, and rinse and repeat through this process till you get to number 1. So you can go back to the top. You don't no longer have to create a blog, but you can, because you can create a blog that's related to, for example, in JP's case, we're going to talk about fire damage homes. You probably know different ways, JP, different ways to kind of like different keywords that we can create another blog for it. But if we're kind of stuck and that's all there is, we can go and create another video and just start the stacking with the video and go back. But the press release is what's going to continue to syndicate and hit those assets over and over and over. And that will continue to move the needle up and up and up. And the thing that I saw that was kind of mind blowing is that this in most cases will not require what I usually use with guest posts, but the guest posts aren't even in this particular strategy. So the reason I liked it so much is because this can be done by you guys. It doesn't have to be the guest post. Backlinks requires me going out and doing a lot of research on bloggers, recruiting them, and getting votes for you, right? This strategy is something more of a DIY that can be mixed with some of these higher level backlink strategies as well, which is what we do with our Dominator and Accelerator level. But for you guys that might not be at that level yet, or want to do it yourself, this right here is going to save you a ton of time and will actually help you control what you want to rank for, right? So you decide what the avatar is. And then we put you through this process, right? And move the needle. So this right here, I want to stop there. I want to see if there's any questions on the stack. I have everything pretty much documented. So we'll go from there and see if,
Yes. Hi, Roger, it's Lorraine.
go ahead, Lorraine.
So, yeah, a couple of questions.
Sure.
And these are probably going to be very entry level questions, but anyway.
It's okay.
So starting with the press release, I guess one question that I had when you were describing it, you said that we should link the press release back to GMB, but then if GMB is short-lived, then what? I guess I'm a bit confused, because if we're linking them to something that's not going to be there, does that kind of go against what the purpose of the press release is?
Great question. Great question. So when you link to a post and that post goes away, it
Mhm.
links to your Google map. So it doesn't go away. So remember, the press release doesn't only link to the GMB post. It's going to be linked. It's going to have an embedded video. It's going to be linking to your blog. So it's already linking to multiple places already, plus the GMB. We need to kind of mix it in there. And when that post goes down, that post's not going to be there, but that link will redirect to your Google map, which is what you want to do, is linking to your GMB basically profile.
So, okay, so I want, sorry, I
okay.
want the press release to link to my GMB, and even if the post isn't there, I'm sending people to my Google map. Why?
That's your GMB. That's a profile. It's just like your website. It's
Okay.
just as important. It's like somebody looking for your brand or something that you do, and they find your GMB profile. Just as important as your website.
Well,
So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So they'll find my GMB profile, but they won't really know what I do, right?
Correct. But keep in mind, this strategy is to boost that blog. So a lot of this stuff is more, once again, it's almost like the videos that I have you guys do that has nothing to do with creating. It's just very SEO driven.
Got it.
So in this case, the only reason I'm having you, logically, you're kind of like, why? And I see the question, and it's a legitimate question, right? But in reality, don't worry too much about what it's doing. It's actually basically creating a signal.
Yeah, this is
That's
just
all it is.
creating
It's an
activity
SEO, exactly.
to boost. Okay, I get it.
Yep. And that's basically what it's doing. Because with this strategy here that we just mapped out, you're creating roughly about 200 to 300 basically Google signals.
Got it.
That these things are important, what pages are important, and boom, it kind of goes back. And that's what we fight for, is signals. Is basically that you exist, what's going on, what kind of assets are out there. And with this strategy here, with one go around here, you basically create like 200 to 300 signals.
I understand. Okay. I thought, part of me thought this was like the one shop all, like, okay, I do all of this stacking and then this is going to accomplish all the SEO, but this is really just to increase the ranking. Okay.
Correct.
And then obviously the video and the blog will create awareness for the brand as well. This is kind of just, as you said, stacking.
Exactly. It's just creating the maximum amount of signals and awareness.
For things we're doing, for things that we should already be doing. This is just another layer or something that we could be doing simultaneously. If we're doing this already, you just add one extra step and it's providing that additional value. So I get it.
Correct. And kind of the key is the interlinking and how it's stacked, because all this stuff should be done, to your point, right? But if you actually do it correctly, interlink the way we kind of stacked it here, you're going to see a lot better results than the competition that's doing the exact same thing. Because when you look at an SEO strategy, very similar, right? Plus guest blogs, plus citations and all that. But you see all this, but not, many times the interlinking is not done correctly. You see results. What I'm trying to get to here is get you basically get you to number one faster.
Yeah.
So we're trying to basically supercharge your campaign.
Yeah, I like this because it creates the awareness and it builds our brand at the same time. So this is cool. Thanks, Roger.
Awesome. All right, we got Mickey. You have a question?
Yes. So step number 5 was the press release. And then after that, you said you rinse and repeat, meaning that if I have 4 blogs for the same avatar, I will just redo other videos, but they will all go into that same press release, right? It's not five different press release.
Well, it's going to be, for example, you do this once, right? You do this entire thing once, and your main blog is for tired landlords. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. Boom. And then you see, say you're on page 3, position 5, just for an example, and you do this whole thing, and you basically go to page 1, but you're position 10 at the bottom, right? You want to be position 1. So, and the 21 days pass, maybe even 30 days pass, right? You waited it out, see what Google's going to do, and it just doesn't move anymore. But you did get to page 1. Well, your goal is to get to position 1 on page 1. You're going to run all this again. Not necessarily, you could run another blog post, right? That's related and interlink it back to your main blog post, because you're focused on one, and you're trying to see how many assets do I need to create, how many signals basically do I need to create to keep moving the needle on my main blog post that I want to rank. So what you're going to do, I think the best strategy for you, if you already have that particular blog, is to then start with another video and start there. Instead of creating another blog, just start there. You can even embed that second video on that blog post a little further down. And then just keep going through the steps again. And that's going to continue to move the needle for you.
So I don't have to do several press release, like when you said rinse and repeat. You do, because what you would do is now you got to go YouTube video. You have to go again and do your GMB post. And then the final step, you do a second press release, right? And now what happens is to Lorraine's point, you just hit it again, boom, right? You just created more awareness. So we gave it some awareness, it moved the needle, but you're not happy with that. You want to keep moving it higher. Well, you hit it again with the entire process. Now you gave it another 200 to 300 signals, and that's going to continue to kick it up. Perfect, thanks.
Okay.
Audra, I'm sorry, one quick question. Sorry, Tony. Could you remind us, I guess, what TRC charges for the press releases? And then I think you had mentioned there might be a company outside of TRC where we could get it done as well?
Yeah, so we charge $120 per press release, and it does basically, we can do if you have all these assets created, then we can, we'll run them exactly per this strategy, right? If that's your goal. But you can also run one-off press releases that, once again, they create awareness, they create signals, they create, authority score goes up when you run these as well. So if you run them by themselves, they're $120. If you're going to do them on your own, there's a lot of different companies out there. Just put press release and then, like press release services, maybe even on Fiverr or something like that. Those, it took us a while to really find the ones we like, because what happens is they're syndicating this content to hundreds of news sites. And my kind of holdback and why it took us a while to really kind of build these relationships is because I want those websites that they syndicate your content to be real, first of all. What we found is that there's a lot of fake sites, news sites out there, and they don't have traffic. They have high authority scores, but they got it with the black hat method, which can affect your overall kind of situation when it comes to your online presence. So what we've done, with time, we've kind of found the ones we want to work with. They have a good, connection with a lot of news sites, and this is nationwide, right? So there's nothing local. It's a nationwide kind of syndication. And that is where the value comes from. So it's really not that I have a name for it. You can find them just by typing in press releases on Google, like press release services. There'll be a number of them. And then, like I said, if you decide we kind of stayed within the price range of most people. So 120 is pretty average between 120 and some. You got to be careful. Some people want to charge you up to like $500 for a press release, but you don't need that. That's why we kept it. Once again, we're an SEO agency, so there's a lot of things that you guys need, so we want to keep them affordable.
Yeah, no, that sounds reasonable. Thank you.
Awesome. Anyone else have any questions in regards to the stack?
How many people do we need to refer to get a press release?
That's a good question.
Oh, man.
Or an even better question is, if you've already referred people, can we backlink or backdate that, whatever we were gonna get for that referral into a press release?
You know, Sean is not here. It will
Yeah.
stay between us and the recording.
This is what I'll do. Sean's on a mountain right now. So let's let him come down from the mountain. He's going to watch this. He knew this was our game plan to talk about this because we really want to talk about and teach at a higher level and more depth in regards to this at our Baltimore event. Part of the stuff that we're going to be teaching is around this. But this is interesting. That's a great question. So let me go back with Sean later this week when he's back. Let us talk about it. And yeah, I think it'd be great to have this, and because I want you guys applying this. This is something that's working very well now. This is something I think if you guys haven't seen results, maybe you've seen results with your city pages and you're happy with that, but now you're getting to the point where you really want to, start kind of nailing down those avatars. This is going to be the strategy. So let me go back with Sean, talk about it, and see what we can come up with for you guys in regards to press releases, and then we'll go from there. I'm sure we'll have that for next week, and that way you guys have a goal on what it is. Because press release, the way we create them and we syndicate them, they are a little more pricey to do than blog posts, which is usually what we pass along for you guys for recommendations. But we'll see what we can figure out. It's all good. Any other questions? Segal, saw you raise your hand. Yep, go ahead and unmute.
So just to get the picture right, the first start is the blog and the YouTube, right? The YouTube connecting to the blog
Correct.
and the backlink, right? Then
That
the
is correct.
second start is the Google My Business, putting the post from the blog into the Google My Business. That's the second one, right?
Correct.
And then the third one is the press release, which connects to the Google My Business. And then that way it connects to the others. Is that right?
That is right. But we're going to go through it one more time here pretty quickly, because the linking is the key. So you need to kind of have this. And if you don't get it, we'll have this recording. Once again, we're going to create more visual aids. So this can be a very straightforward and some kind of infographic or something. I think it would be needed for this because there's a lot of interlinking. So when we start with the blog, let's create whatever the avatar is going to be, right? You guys already get that. That's pretty straightforward. The avatar. That's foreclosure, right? Write that blog. Next, you're going to go and create a foreclosure video, right, on YouTube. You're going to create a foreclosure. You're going to upload it to YouTube. The YouTube video, the title needs to be your foreclosure keyword, right? Bam. In the description on YouTube of that video, make it at least 200 words, utilize, but you need to sprinkle that keyword in there a couple times. I would say about 3 times or so, right? Inside that description, you need to have a link, right? A hyperlink that links back to the blog about foreclosure, right? That's your first link. All right. So once you have that, now you're going to move into the Google My Business post. And the Google My Business post should be pretty simple at this point, because all you're doing is going back to your blog post, doing a summary, right? A short summary of the blog. That's going to be the content. The picture, you can create a new one, or you can use your featured image that you already used for your blog. Okay. And then the call to action, basically the link, is going to go to your YouTube video. So far, so good. And then the final step, once again, what I call where all the magic happens, is the press release. So the press release essentially is going to be syndicated to a couple hundred websites for news. But inside the content, you're going to have an embedded video, which is going to be your YouTube video that you created. You're going to have a backlink to the Google My Business post. To Lorraine's point, that thing's going to go down in 7 to 10 days or something like that. Doesn't matter. That link will redirect to your Google My Business. It'll always stay there. It'll give you signals. It'll give you basically awareness signals. And then the final link within the blog or within the press release is going to go to the blog post. And if you have that entire stack correctly, you will see dramatic moves. Am I promising number one in the first go? No, but if you're in a pretty competitive, pretty much market, and that avatar is pretty competitive for those keywords, you will see a jump. And then you might have to do this a couple times. Many of you, I think the majority of you guys will actually see really dramatic good results. I'm talking about position 1, 2, or 3 right out of the gate, because there isn't a lot of competition. Where we're missing here is we're creating our blogs, we're optimizing well, but there's some older blogs from other websites that have just been there, and they're sitting there, and Google's taking forever to move us up and compete with those guys, because we have good content. We've made it better than them, but just because they have the history, Google's taking its time to really build, especially if you guys are not doing anything else on the website, right? You're not creating other signals, other awareness signals to tell Google that you are valuable overall. So this right here will hit your website so much. Once again, you're creating over like 200 to 300 signals, which Google will look at that content and move it up in big steps. Make sense? All right, guys. Now, that is the Google stack. That is the article stack. Guys, once you got that down, hopefully that all made sense. And if you take the time, you test it. I told you, actually, a couple of you guys, don't try to tackle all your avatars, tackle one, right? Go through the full process, get comfortable with it, and then tackle another one, right? Because what you can do, you can even do more things with this with social media. Once you have all this on there, you can then plug in social media. I'm not even going to get into that here, but if you get that far, then you can add even more signals. They're called social signals, by adding links to social media and just adding them to the stack. But this is more focused on the Google stack. I wanted to kind of focus on that, because just by doing this, you guys are going to see big results. Some of you guys that want to go even faster, that's when we'll get into the conversation. I'm sure we'll add it to a future call, but I'm going to then append social media. And that's what I want to talk about at our Baltimore event. So if you guys do sign up for that Baltimore event and you get through a couple of these, it makes sense. Don't worry about it. I'm going to reiterate a lot of this stuff, reteach it, but then I'm going to add extra stacks that will even give you even more signals to kind of move the needle even faster. Good? All right, guys, let's see if there's anything here. Got it. All right, so everything looks good, guys. All right, any final questions before we finish this off? All right, everything good? All right, guys, so this one was good. Hopefully it was more like, when I kind of do the calls, I do it more like a tutorial scenario. So it's like kind of give me a good chance to kind of go over some of this stuff. New, exciting stuff. Once again, it's not brand new, but something that's working really, really well. I'm excited about it. And I'm actually excited to see some of you guys actually put it into play and help you kind of implement this. So till next week, guys, hopefully you guys have a good rest of your week. And if there's anything that we can help you with, you know where to find us.
Later, dude. Thank you very much.
Bye, guys.
Thanks,
See you later.
Raj.
Thanks, Roger.
Bye.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
So the goal, I will send you a new link.